Good morning, fellow entrepreneurs. Delighted to be here in the company of people, as was said, who have an understanding of waves with each other. But before I start, I must congratulate my dear friend Harsh for having started what I think is a movement which is gathering steam. And having known Harsh for a long time, there's one thing I'm pretty clear, that if he starts something, he keeps on building on it and adds sustainability and continuity to whatever he does. So I would first like to give a big round of applause to my friend Harsh. So Harsh, as a friend, I must thank you for calling me today. Friends, as I was coming here, I was really thinking about my current status and how do I feel about it. I currently feel like a traffic policeman. The traffic policeman deals with cars going one way, coming the other way, and he is waving his hand. As a banker, I feel similarly today because cash is coming in, some cash, very little is going away the other way, and I am in the middle of it. And this is exactly how I feel, but when I think about the future, I know that my job is going to be dramatically different as we look at the future. There is going to be no need for traffic policemen. There will be signals and sensors which will automatically be able to control the flow of traffic. Signals, we are all aware, but it's going to be accompanied by sensors. And soon, I may not have to monitor human beings driving cars, friends. The cars will drive on their own. Therefore, who will I catch and take on the side to write that penalty notice? Because there will be no human beings as we look at the future driving a car. Therefore, as I stand today, I see my role as a traffic policeman dramatically changing for the future. I probably need to learn new skills, which would be monitoring at a central desk where I have the picture of all that is happening in a city. I need to have the ability to have analytics, which will enable me to take strategic decisions very different from what I may have done in my current or past avatar. And that, friends, as an entrepreneur, is the excitement of each of our journeys as we think about the future. The future is changing pretty significantly and in ways where we need to adapt and adopt to that new world. And sometimes they say that the best lessons come from history. And therefore, I will give a little bit of perspective about my own history and what I have learned out of that over the years and how you and I together need to adopt some of the lessons as we think about our future. And it takes me back, friends, to 1982. I was just completing my MBA from business school. I come from a joint family. I was born in a home where 60 people stayed together under one roof and a single kitchen. And it taught me the ability of managing the social function in the physical world, which we now manage in the social media, and taught me the lessons which are extremely important about dealing with human beings extremely early. And the power of that joint family experience of 60 people under a single roof has held me in very good stead over the last 50 plus years. So after I went to college and was completing my MBA, I was not really sure or keen to join the joint family business. Our family's business was into agricultural commodities, primarily cotton trading, and we had a office in Flora Fountain, and about 14 family members coming to work every day. And the idea of effectively being in a capitalistic business with socialistic principles about how merit would be recognized or not recognized was somewhere bothering me in my head. So I actually applied for a job to Hindustan Lever, which is across Jamnalal Bajaj, or was across Jamnalal Bajaj those days, and was one of the most sought after institutions where MBAs joined. Fortunately, I had a chat with my father, and I tell this to my sons, that don't think all that your fathers say is always wrong. Once in a while, they can also be right. So I had a chat with my father, and my father said, son, what if I convince the rest of the joint family to give you 300 square feet of office space in the family office, a separate corner? Would you want to start something on your own, which is different from our family business? I was always passionate about financial services, though really didn't know what I was going to do. And like every entrepreneur, I grabbed the opportunity of saying, yes, I want to start something on my own in the area of finance without having any clear plan of what financial services I was going to do. And then when I was sharing with a few of my friends who had just passed out along with me, one of them joined a company called Nelco. By the way, friends, that's the company Mr. Ratan Tata started his career in. And this gentleman joined the finance division of Nelco. So, and as soon as he joined, and as I was trying to figure out my business model, he said, hey, Uday, Nelco is very tight on working capital. The cycle is long, and electronics is a high working capital intensive business. So can you pay money to our suppliers if we pay after 90 days by what was in colloquial language known as a hundi, but which is in modern language known as bills of exchange or commercial paper in some forms. So, and I asked him, what is the rate of interest which Nelco pays? So he said, the rate of interest is standard. It's decided by RBI. We'll pay 17% rate of interest. And I quickly checked, friends, and at that stage, banks used to take deposits at 6% per annum. So deposit rates were 6. Here was a lending rate for 90 days, which was 17%. So I'm not very greedy, so I thought this is a decent spread to operate in. And therefore got into this business where I said, okay. And I went to a few family friends and said that you're putting your money in a bank deposit at 6% for 1 year. What if instead of that, I got you 12% per annum rate of interest, and you're not giving me money, not my risk. You're giving money to a Tata company. Would you be open to it? So a few family friends first looked at me in a very peculiar manner. Is this guy knowing what he's doing? But when they felt that there was some sense in it, started giving 1 lakh, 2 lakhs of rupees at 12% against a negotiated bill of exchange, which was with them as a security. And I went back to Nelco and said simply, instead of 17, I'll give you money at 16, give me more business. So a 11% spread business, we disintermediated down to 4%, and we saw our business take off and fly. And it just went on and on and on, and we saw significant growth. And essentially, friends, one of the learnings which I would like to highlight to you is that there are times where opportunities come in the marketplace, and it is extremely important to be there to be able to spot it and take it. The trouble with opportunity is it never announces itself. It never says that here I am, here is opportunity, take it. It is our instinct which enables us to spot opportunities as we look at business. So with this, bill discounting was a business we got into with a very small capital. I went to friends and others as soon as we started doing a bit of business that let's make it a separate company. So 1985, we made it a separate company with 30 lakhs of capital. And went to any friend, others, to put in capital into the company, and with some difficulty was able to raise a total of 30 lakhs. Some of those friends are still shareholders, and therefore if a person put in 1 lakh into our company in 1985 as a part of our capital of 30 lakhs, it's, and assuming he is not sold, and just looking at the capital value, it's 1 lakh has become now about 1100 crores. And friends, however, I've also done the calculation on compounding. It's a very modest 45% per annum over 31 years. And I keep on telling my team, because we are also living in the present, I keep on telling my team that for the next 30 years, I'm not wanting to be more ambitious. I'm happy with the returns we have produced over the last 30 years. So with that, friends, was bill discounting which we started, and we became a proper company in 1985 November. In fact, 21st November was our 31st birthday. And then in 1989, we spotted another opportunity. Till 1989, friends, in India, nobody financed cars. Therefore, cars were not financed by banks or anybody else. So we started, at that stage, we saw a small little bank, which some of you may have heard, called Citibank, had started car financing. So Citibank had started car financing and was doing it at a flat rate of interest, which was 13% per annum. Flat rate of interest, which means you kept on paying your installments, you still paid interest on the principal amount. Some of you may be aware with those hire purchase contracts, but that's how it was in those days. And my MBA came into great help to me, because it enabled me to convert a flat rate of interest into IRR. And it told me that the IRR is about 35%. And this sounded like a good business. Banks were lending at about 15% by then, and there was a 20% margin. But how do we, a small little NBFC, compete with the mighty Citibank? And that's when an entrepreneurial idea struck us. Cars, as you know, friends, in 1989-90 were in short supply. And you had to wait for 6 months to get a car. The Citibank said, we will finance you once you have a car delivery. But the person buying a car had actually got to block his money 6 months before that, by the time he got the car delivery. So he had already financed it for 6 months, and Citibank would thereafter finance the car, because the car came into existence 6 months later. So we hit upon an idea, which is, we went to some of the car dealers and said, we will book cars. And we started booking 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 cars up front. And by the time we got delivery, we would have customers wanting the car with immediate delivery. And being honorable people, which we were and are, we said, we will not charge any funny premium or anything else, but you can get your car from us, provided you take it on financing, and we are very reasonable people. We will give it on same financing terms as Citibank. And we had a huge business, friends, in our car finance business. Then, this is 1989, 1991, investment banking opened up in India, because till 1991, price at which you could raise capital was decided by the government, which was waived, and we got into the investment banking business. And as these businesses began to develop, we had a catastrophe strike us in 1992. Some of you may be aware of it. 1992 saw a famous scandal in the capital markets which is popularly known as the Harshad Mehta scam, and it came out of the blue. And at that stage, friends, more than 85% of our business, and please don't compare it with demonetization, more than 85% of our business was bill discounting. And overnight, RBI came out and said, bill discounting and rediscounting as an activity is banned for NBFCs. So 1992, we had just gone public, and immediately after that, 85% of our business came to a standstill. And this made us think, what the hell should we do? And we quickly recalibrated our business. We had just a few years ago bought a stock exchange card, and we also started the stockbroking and the investment banking business in full steam post 1992. And that brought us to a new era of understanding that we understood very little of financial markets and capital markets in India. And it was time for us now to get out of our well and think about the bigger global picture. So off we went, scouting for global partners to get into joint ventures, which would enable us the ability to take our firm to the next level. So 1995, friends, we entered into a joint venture with a global investment bank called Goldman Sachs. And that was Goldman's first joint venture anywhere in the world in the area of investment banking and securities, which is what we went into a joint venture. And 1996 thereafter, when the spreads on car finance had begun to shrink, we thought it's important now to get into efficiency and learning how it works. So we went into a joint venture with Ford Motor Credit Company, their auto finance arm. And the two joint ventures actually happened in 1995 and 1996. And this was a very important turning point. We were able to negotiate reasonable deals. So a significant amount of capital came into us for the shares we gave them, and gave us a significant ability to bear the shocks for the future. And then, friends, and this is the beauty about an entrepreneur's journey, you keep on getting surprises from nowhere. And 1997 onwards, most of you are aware, we saw the development of the Asian crisis. And we saw a collapse of Thailand and many other Asian countries. And here we were, and by that time, the NBFC was a true four-letter word in India, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry was in that business, and we had 6,000 NBFCs in India by 1997, from a sprinkling when we started our business. So 1997, the global crisis hit, and the NBFC crisis in India happened. And friends, out of 6,000 NBFCs, by the year 2001, 2002, probably 20 or 25 survived. 5,975 NBFCs died. And it gave us one more peek into what death is all about. And it was a very, very traumatic experience for us in that period. Fortunately, because we were relatively conservative and we managed our balance sheet well, we survived that. And in the same time, we also started a mutual fund in 1998 and a life insurance company in 2001. Another major opportunity came to us in 2001, where the RBI, by public notice in the newspapers, opened up for anybody to apply for a banking license. And like any member of the public, of course, there were a set of criteria which we believed we fulfilled, and we, like any member of the public, went ahead and made an application to the RBI for a banking license. And friends, I'm very, very proud to say that we got the license. Not only did we get the license in 2003, but we did not need to do anything which was incorrect, either in Mumbai or Delhi, in any form, to get that license. It was through the front door, went through the process, and no pressure, no influence, no taking any favors. And when we got the license, and friends, those were the days when banking licenses were not very hot either. So fortunately, that's also what may have helped us. So in 2003, here we were with a banking license, and we had subsidiary companies where Goldman and Ford were partners. So some of my friends at Goldman Sachs said, "Hey, why the hell are you, Uday, getting into a low ROE business? Banking is a lousy business. Commercial banking is a lousy business. All the money is in investment banking and securities." I said, "No. My desire is to build a customer-centric business in India for Indian customers, and we cannot build customer centricity without a banking platform. And we started our bank in 2003, and I must also share with you that before we got the banking license, our market cap was in a few hundred crores before the banking license. And that's how we got into banking, and 2003 was a turning point for us. 2005-06, friends, the fresh development was, India was getting exciting. Everybody was very encouraged and excited by India. Merrill Lynch bought out its partner in India, and Goldman Sachs wanted to effectively increase its stake in the Indian businesses. So we went into detailed discussions and negotiations with them, and between the two of us, we could not find out, and I'm sure many of you entrepreneurs, if you can find out, please do let me know. We could not find out any mathematical way by which two of us could own 51% each. And therefore, we had to effectively buy out the Goldman Sachs stake in 2005 and made it a 100% owned business of ours. And just around the same time, we also bought back the Ford Credit stake. And both these joint ventures, friends, lived for 10 years. And it gives me one more perspective on learning about joint ventures. I genuinely believe joint ventures are not forever. There are always conflicts of interest between the different joint venture partners, and it's extremely important when to pull the plug, because this is something which I have learned over the years, that don't think about joint ventures as permanent. They are transitory, but while you are in the joint venture, honor everything which is a part of your commitment, but be clear, you must have a clear path, because ultimately it is two competitors in the same business partnering together. So that's what happened in 2005, 2006, and thereafter you saw the global financial crisis in 2008, and that's post 2008, friends. This is when our decision to enter into banking began to pay us. And I can say that for the first 5 years after we became a bank, it was a business which was not doing well at all. But our capital markets and other businesses were doing extremely well, but the pure banking business was going through tough times. And it is in that period, that post 2008, that we really were able to build our banking business and grow it. Since then, friends, as you are aware, we completed an acquisition of another bank, which is ING Vaishya Bank, in 2014, announced in 2014, completed in 2015. We've taken an equity stake in MCX, and we are delighted to be a 20% shareholder in Airtel Payments Bank, which, as you all know, is the first payments bank of the block. We are 19.9% shareholders in Airtel Payments Bank, and as you know, Airtel has more than 250 million customers, and right now the bank has been launched, and we are very happy shareholders in the Airtel Payments Bank platform. We think India's landscape is dramatically changing. It's a time to be open, to innovate, to experiment. But through all my years of entrepreneurship, friends, I have had a few important lessons which are something which we will always keep in mind. And some of them I'd like to share with you as key lessons which are important in the journey of entrepreneurship. First, when something is too good to be true, it is. And inevitably, we have seen people getting very excited about something which is, oh, I never expected this to be so good to be true. Remember, there is always a sting in the tail, and that sting in the tail doesn't show itself immediately. It shows itself after a point of time. And I'll again back it with a specific example, and we have many examples in our life. It goes back to 2001. Some of you may remember the famous stock market bubble then, the tech bubble, which led to a significant downfall thereafter, which was popularly known as the Ketan Parekh bubble. And in those days, friends, in our stockbroking business, there was a 7-day settlement system. So we got a client come to us and say that, listen, we will give you immediate delivery of stock. You can sell it on the market on our behalf, and you will get money after a week from the exchanges. We need money upfront, and for that, we are ready to pay you a 1% upfront fee for 7 days, flat. You can calculate what the IRRs are, and the proposal came to our head of the business, and friends, it's important, it didn't come to me. It came to my head of the business, who said, we think there are risks there. It's too good to be true. We will not do it. And a couple of 3 months later, a global firm which did that transaction was banned from the capital markets for a period of 3 years because the underlying transaction was a manipulation, because the buyer on the other side was effectively the same party. And thank God, we would have been in deep trouble if we went ahead and did that transaction. Therefore, the first lesson in our firm is, when something is too good to be true, friends, it is. And watch it carefully, go into detail, and keep on asking the question, what can go wrong? And normally, in times of exuberance, people do get carried away when easy money is on the table, and that's the time biggest mistakes happen. And that is point number one. Too good to be true, it is. Second, it is never as good as it looks. It's never as bad as it looks. So in times when things are looking really down, it's not as bad as you think it is for you. And when things are looking really up, it's never as good as you think it is. And the ability to have equanimity, the ability to keep equilibrium, the ability not to get carried away is an extremely important function. And that does not mean don't grab opportunity. Of course, if there's an opportunity, you must go after it. But keep equanimity and don't get carried away. Biggest mistakes by entrepreneurs happen because of what I call as excess and hubris. Hubris leads to the downfall. And it is here, friends, that the core lesson which I have learned is, don't get excessively carried away, don't get excessively depressed. Keep a certain equilibrium, and that's extremely important. Third, and this is something which is crucial for entrepreneurs, your biggest enemy is success. Because you're successful in your past, and you believe you have done it, therefore you will be successful in the future. And I worry about success as my biggest enemy, and constantly challenge myself that don't forget, don't live in the past. You're driving the car not out of a rear view mirror, but out of what is in front of you, the windshield. And this, friends, is an extremely important lesson which I, as an entrepreneur, have always kept in mind. Fourth, in 2009 January, post the global financial crisis, I had an opportunity to be on stage at the World Economic Forum, and Fareed Zakaria was the coordinator of the panel, and he asked me a question. Uday, what should a good bank for the future, or a good institution for the future, look like? And that's the answer I gave him, and which I consider it very dear to me even today. I said a good institution, company, bank for the future must have 3 human qualities. First, a quality of prudence, particularly in the risk management business, and therefore no excess leverage. You must be able to withstand shocks and be able to sustain your business. Therefore, human quality of prudence. Second, a human quality of simplicity, and that too in your business as well. Because some of you may remember, very complex financial instruments were being created then, called derivatives and exotic derivatives. And we genuinely believe that that is not good for customers. Customers want it simple, stupid. And anything which makes and keeps things simple, stupid is the way to go. And therefore, the human quality of simplicity. And the third, friends, and something which I deeply believe in, is the quality of humility. As success comes to human beings, particularly what you saw in the financial sector, a lot of CEOs of global institutions began to believe that they are masters of the universe. They own the universe. And this is the big mistake. And therefore, I genuinely believe, as entrepreneurs, as managers, as builders of businesses, we need to keep three important human qualities of prudence, simplicity, and humility in whatever we do. And the fifth learning in my life, friends, is it is about the journey, not the destination. Moment you make any of your entrepreneurial decisions as a one-time outcome, you will find it a challenge. Think about your career, your profession, your work as a journey and not for a destination to be reached. And think about yourself being in a train which keeps on going forever. We as human beings may not be there forever, but the train and the journey must continue forever. And therefore, friends, I am a great believer that institutions must outlive any individual. Individuals will come and go, but what individuals do to build an institution which does not over time depend on those individuals is crucial for sustainability of any institution globally. And therefore, I genuinely believe it's about life, it's about a journey and not a destination. So these are some of my learnings, friends. And if I take from here as a peek into the future, and I'm for the moment not getting into the immediate positives or otherwise of government policy and everything else, because I believe that government policies come and go. Something comes, something changes, something comes again, something changes. Your ability to build a business model which is Teflon beyond government policies is also extremely important. You can't build a model based on a positive policy, because what is positive today can be easily negative tomorrow. And I gave you the example of what happened to me in my early stages in '92, where 85% of my business died overnight. So be ready for death in any of your businesses, any of your segments, and don't depend on government policies to necessarily sustain you over time. And use the opportunity, but be careful, there is life well beyond that. And therefore, as a person or as entrepreneurs in the journey together, friends, I genuinely believe that the road ahead from an Indian point of view is extremely positive. There is significant change ahead of us. There will be very high mortality. I genuinely believe the levels of mortality in Indian business are going to dramatically go up in the years to come. But don't be afraid of death. And think about life as a continuum. And I am a great, great believer that the journey ahead is going to be exotic, exciting, and something which will be able to drive us to very significant growths, but survival of not so many. With that, once again, Harsh, thank you so much for inviting me and each of you for a wonderful journey ahead. Thank you.